Hi, I'm Dr. Bernard Starr. It was stunning and revealing to watch the complete Senate debates of the Democrats who lost closely contested races, especially the Senate races in battleground states that held promise for flipping the Senate for the Democrats. In every instance, rather than presenting policies or answering criticisms, the Republicans attacked with fear-mongering, the boogeyman, vague charges that Democrats will bring destruction, havoc, extremism, and economic collapse to America with no evidence to back up their wild fear-mongering. It's difficult, though, to fight phantoms, but there is a way to vaporize the boogeyman. I'll suggest one. I'm sure there are others. I hope for their upcoming runoff elections in Georgia, Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock take note. And every Democratic candidate in the future must watch for the boogeyman attack and take it down immediately. When people are scared, it hits them in the gut and distracts them so they don't pay attention to policy issues that really compromise their lives. That was the theme of my article published in Op-Ed News on November 21st, 2020. Here's what I wrote. Title: No, it wasn't calls to defund police departments that defeated Democrats in Senate races. The boogeyman did it. If the final senatorial debates of Jamie Harrison versus Lindsey Graham, South Carolina, and Amy McGrath versus Mitch McConnell, Kentucky, were 10-round boxing matches, McGrath and Harrison would have won all the rounds on points. But they lost their elections. Why? They were knocked out by the oldest dirty trick in political debates, boogeyman sucker punches, and they had no effective counterpunches. Democrats Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock should prepare for the boogeyman trick in their upcoming Georgia elections. The boogeyman, you recall, is the mythical creature some parents invoke to scare children out of bad behavior. The boogeyman will get you if you don't behave, is the threat many remember from their childhoods. The charge heaped on all Democratic candidates, "You want to defund the police," was an easy one to defuse. Democrats Harrison, McGrath, Cunningham, North Carolina, Ossoff, Warnock, and I'm sure others like Ossoff, simply said, "No, the answer is not to defund police. The answer is to reform police." They praised the police but emphasized the need for reform to root out the bad cops. Cal Cunningham, in his debate with Tom Tillis, went even further, saying that he favored increasing resources for the police. But deflating the boogeyman is a different challenge. Denials give the boogeyman substance when in fact it is imaginary. Or worse, embracing or defending the boogeymen and women who the Republicans demonized over 4 years of conditioning and brainwashing. Republican David Perdue threw the devil, Chuck Schumer, at Ossoff in their October 29th debate, claiming Ossoff would be nothing but a rubber stamp for Chuck Schumer and his radical social agenda, a mantra that he included in nearly all his responses. Ossoff sidestepped the charge, but in another statement, as reported in Politico, he said, quote, he hoped to have the opportunity to work with Schumer to get things done for Georgia. That sounds nice. It would have been better to say, I will work with both Republicans and Democrats to get things done for Georgia and will fight anyone on both sides of the aisle who doesn't join me for that. In some instances, the boogeyman tactic seemed bizarre. The Republican candidates often made no attempt to respond to challenges or defend failed policies and inactions. Instead, they answered with some of these boogeyman warnings. If you vote for him or her, you will be voting for Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the radical left agenda, socialism, Marxism, socialized medicine, allowing crime and rioting to flourish, and opening borders to let in criminals who will ravage our cities and your communities. At the October 13th debate between Mitch McConnell and Amy McGrath, McConnell used the boogeyman tactic in every one of his responses to his opponent's point-by-point citations of McConnell's failure to deliver for Kentucky. His favorite boogeyman, in this case a woman, was Nancy Pelosi, whom he used falsely in almost all his responses as code for socialism and the far left. In his summation, he went full boogeyman, saying nothing about what he would do for Kentucky, and instead unloaded 8 boogeymen. Lindsey Graham invoked the boogeyman over and over in response to Jamie Harrison's documentation of Graham's failure to deliver for South Carolina. Like McConnell, he made the boogeymen and women the totality of his opening and final statements. The same is true for the final statement by Dave Perdue in his face-off with John Ossoff, and Kelly Loeffler, Georgia, dredged up the boogeyman in her attacks on Raphael Warnock. Did the RNC advise all the Republican candidates to pivot to the boogeyman when they had no effective policy responses? I wonder. It was suspicious that they all had very similar scripts. In the face of these scary threats, the Democratic challengers wisely didn't parry. The temptation to argue about or defend the boogeymen and women, she's not a communist and he's not that radical, should be avoided. It's a trap like responding to, when did you stop beating your wife? But here is one strategy to disable the phantoms. Lieutenant Colonel Amy McGrath could have said to Mitch McConnell, real fear and hard work are landing a jet on the deck of an aircraft carrier flying at 150 miles an hour at night in bad weather and no navigational guide. She actually said this, but not in response to the boogeyman. To continue what she might have said, when I did that, I was laser-focused on making a safe landing. There were no boogeymen to distract me from that singular focus. And when I'm in the Senate, I will have that same laser focus and will fight anyone who stands in the way of a safe landing for the people of Kentucky. You can count on that. I don't see or fear boogeymen. We know what Mitch wants to take away from you. He tells you that again and again. Your health care with no plan for replacement. Your health and safety with no plan to end the pandemic. Cuts in Social Security. No plan for clean air and water, and much more. So he distracts you from his failures by scaring you with boogeymen and women. He thinks you are stupid and will fall for it. Watch carefully, folks. Every time he has no answer for his failures, he will throw the boogeymen and women at you. And the next time he did it, she could have turned to the viewers, laughed, and said, there he goes again. No plans, so he's throwing the boogeyman at us. He thinks you and I are stupid. But, my friends, he can't scare me. You have to decide, do you want boogeymen and women or plans and actions to improve your lives? If you believe in the boogeyman, Mitch is your guy. If he continues with the boogeyman tactic, just keep saying, there he goes again, no plans, just boogeymen. Do that and you'll see, poof, the boogeyman is gone. John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock can do the same with wording from their histories and perspectives before their Georgia Senate runoff races on January 5th, when they are sure to face a relentless barrage of boogeyman attacks, vaporize these mirages, and win. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. Bernard Starr.